Welcome to the Film Geezers podcast. Hello and welcome to the Film Geezers podcast. My name's Robbo. I'm here with Cheeto.
Hello.
And on this episode, we're going to discuss some of our favourite movie villains. So I'm going to go first. My first one is Harry Lime, and he appears in the 1949 film The Third Man, directed by Carol Reed, and it's played by Orson Welles. The film stars Joseph Cotton as Holly Martins, and he arrives in post-Second World War Vienna, which, like Berlin's been divided between the Allies to American, British, French and Soviet sectors. And he's seeking his childhood friend, Harry Lime, was offered him a job. He gets there, he's told that Harry's died in a car accident, he's been run over by a car. He goes to Lime's funeral and he meets Major Calloway, played by Trevor Howard, who's a military police officer. Major Calloway informs him that Lime was involved in the black market, stealing penicillin from the military hospitals, diluting it and then selling it on the black market. And he was responsible for the death of a lot of children, and he initially doesn't believe it.
Yeah.
He starts digging, and he realises that there's a bit of suspicion around Harry's death. The fact that the car that ran him over was his own car.
Yeah.
And the three people who witnessed it were all friends of his. And then one night, Holly sees Harry on the street, and he pursues him, and Harry escapes from him down the sewers. And then he manages to set up a meeting between them, and they meet and they go on to the Vienna's Ferris wheel, where Lime indirectly threatens him, and he sort of reveals the full extent of his ruthlessness. He offers him a job again.
Yeah.
And he looks down from the Ferris wheel, and he's saying, "Look, every dot down there, meaning people, they're worth £20." That's how he valued people's lives. So he shows absolutely no remorse for what he's done.
Yeah.
But he's very charismatic as well. But you can sense there's a sinister undertone there. And his approach is very jovial and friendly, but he's completely immoral. He's got no regret for what he's done, and he just cares about himself. And so in the end, Martins agrees to help Calloway catch Lime. And there's a fantastic chase scene under the sewers of Vienna. And where, I'm not going to give away the ending. But yeah, so that's why he's a movie villain, really, just because he is just has no remorse for what he's done. He's been responsible for the death of a lot of children in hospital.
And when you said that, he comes across as a really nice person, but underneath he's just purely insane.
When he talks, to you. He's very jovial, very charismatic. He's able to get people to do what he wants. He's able to manipulate people, but in the end, he's just a amoral person and has no regard for anybody else.
Okay. Right.
So if you get a chance to watch that, I would watch that. It is a classic film, and it's always on like top lists of the best films.
Yeah, I've watched a few Orson Welles.
Yeah.
Okay. My first is Hans Landa. Hans Landa is the main antagonist in the 2009 Quentin Tarantino film *Inglourious Basterds*. He's portrayed by Austrian actor Christoph Waltz. And actually, for this particular performance, he won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor, the Golden Globe Award for Best Supporting Actor, and the Best Actor Award at the 2009 Cannes Film Festival. And *Inglourious Basterds* is one of my favourite war films. It's quite a simple plot, really. It's about Hans Landa he leads a battalion of soldiers that round up the Jews to take them off to concentration camps and executing them as well. And Brad Pitt leads another platoon of soldiers, of actual Jews, to go down and hunt and kill Hitler. And that's like the general gist of the movie. Like I said, I won't give it too much away. You have to go and see this film. The the reason why he's on my list is because of, of course he's a Nazi and he plays a Nazi so well. He has that balance of being both purely evil and charming at the same time, and that's, like, for me personally, like I said, that's the perfect balance, and that's what I love in a villain. For me, this makes me hate the character even more, but because you want to hate him, he's a Nazi, but you can't help but sort of like him, and you are almost not ashamed but disappointed that you do like the character, because, like I said, he's probably the best part about Inglourious Basterds itself. But yeah, overall, Waltz puts in a legendary performance, and he was actually an unknown actor. He was born in Austria. He moved to Germany when he was younger, and he started acting out there, done TV shows, various films over there. And like I said, he was unknown in most of Europe and North America. But yeah, Tarantino definitely got his casting choice right. It was quite a weird one when, who's this Christoph Waltz? And this is just a testament to Christoph Waltz, because like I said, he's done this, and he also, of course, he won the Oscar in Django Unchained as well. But yeah, these are the reasons why Hans Landa is on my list. Like I said, he is hands down the best part about Inglourious Basterds for me, and he definitely heightens the movie for me. So that's number one on my list.
Good choice, yeah. My next choice is a character called Eric Quaylen, and he's played by John Lithgow in the 1993 film Cliffhanger, directed by Rennie Harlin.
It's a favourite of ours, isn't it?
And I actually watched this again yesterday.
Did you?
Yeah. I mean, really, it was supposed to be sort of a starring vehicle for Sylvester Stallone, who plays Gabe Walker, who's a mountain ranger in the Colorado Rockies. And it starts off in typical fashion when Gabe and his girlfriend, who's the helicopter pilot, they're dispatched to rescue their friend Hal Tucker and his girlfriend Sarah after Hal suffers a knee injury, and it strands him on a peak in the Colorado Rockies. As they're trying to rescue Sarah, part of her harness breaks, and then Gabe tries to rescue her, but she slips and he grabs her hand wearing a glove, and it's that moment, it's that kind of typical action film where, her hand slips out and she falls to her death. And so Gabe, overcome with guilt, decides to take extended leave. And then the film jumps to 8 months later when he returns to the ranger station. He's there to gather his remaining possessions, and he persuades his girlfriend to leave with him. And so while they're there, they receive a distress call from a group of stranded climbers.
Yeah.
And Hal goes to help them. And Jesse persuades Gabe to go and help out. And whereas, Hal is still bitter towards Gabe over Sarah's death. And when they find the climbers, they discover that the distress call was fake, and they're taken prisoner by a ruthless gang of international thieves led by the psychotic. And his background is his British former military intelligence operative, Eric Quaylen, and the surviving group of thieves. And what they've done is they've managed to carry out a mid-air heist, and they've stolen 3 suitcases full of uncirculated bills valuing $100 million. And unfortunately, their escape plan backfired when they were supposed to kill everybody on board the plane, but they left an FBI agent alive, and he shot and damaged the hydraulics on their jet, and they crashed into the mountain. And so what they do is they've got a tracking device on each case, and they get Gabe and Hal to locate the cases. And that's basically the gist of the story.
Yeah.
But what makes him he's very funny. I think depending on what type of film you're in, I think it determines your performance as a bad guy, and I think you got it absolutely right. Yeah, it's a little bit over the top, a little bit campy.
It works for that type of film. What it's going for.
He's got the British accent.
Yeah,
but he's absolutely ruthless, and everyone on this team probably hates him. He's scared of him to the point that he treats them all like idiots.
Yeah,
he's got this
he looks down on them.
Yeah, he's got this air of superiority, and the fact he actually kills his own girlfriend.
Yeah,
as well, and he's not beyond killing anybody to get what he wants. So that's why I've chosen him. Probably not not on a lot of lists of villains, but I just think, I think his performance really does add to the film.
And for me, John Lithgow really does take when you're in a film with Sylvester Stallone. Of course, he's going to take the front running, but John Lithgow really does like take over this film, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is very much as a John Lithgow film as it is a Sylvester Stallone film as well, which is just a testament to how good he is in this.
Yeah. But again, it's like I say, it's an action film. It's supposed to be like, it's not going to make you think a lot. But I think he's pitched his performance really well.
Yeah,
at the level I think that he needs to be.
Yeah, I agree. Right. My next villain is Michael Myers. Michael Myers is the main antagonist in the 1978 John Carpenter slasher film Halloween, and he also reappears as the main antagonist in all of its sequels. He is portrayed by American writer, not actor, writer Nick Castle, who is his performance in Michael Myers that I'm going to base my ranking on in this list.
So you based it on the original,
Halloween the original film.
Right.
Now, once again, it's another very simple film. Some guy snaps, kills his sister, gets sent away to a hospital, escapes, goes back, starts killing again. That's literally it.
This all happened on Halloween, didn't it?
Yeah,
so that's
Halloween
the
night.
Significance of
that's why it's called Halloween.
Yeah.
But the reason why he's on my list is because I can't think of any other character who embodies just pure, like, almost caveman-like evil. Like there's characters who have like evil tendencies, but like Michael is just pure evil. The reason why I think this is because like one day, like I said, he kills his sister, and from that day on, he is like evil incarnate to me. The fact that there's no explanation why he went on his murder spree, it's just pure evil. That's what's really fascinating. This is what makes him such a scary antagonist to me. Like the Terminators, who both Arnold Schwarzenegger and Robert Patrick based their performances on, Michael Myers is just unstoppable. He gets stabbed in the torso and gets up. He gets shot 6 times and flees, amongst everything else that happens to this. In the original, he's almost supernatural. He can even show up at any time in any place. Like, lastly, the mask as well is the scariest thing that I've ever laid my eyes on. The modified Captain Kirk mask is a blank slate in which the viewer can project anything onto it. It's emotionless. There's some really black eyes, and they really do stare into your soul. And yeah, like I said, just the pure fact that he is the chassis, and what drives him is his evil within. There's just no explanation for why he does it, is there? I know they try and do that later down the line in the sequels, but I disregard that. And yeah, he just snaps one day, goes on a killing spree for no reason. And these are the reasons why Michael Myers is on my list, because like I said, I just think he is just the most pure, bare bones evil you can be as a character. Just because, like I said before, some villains they have their reasons for doing what they do, where Michael just doesn't. He just kills because he kills. That's what he's brought on Earth to do. Yeah. So,
and then partway through the film, you got the introduction of Dr. Loomis, played by Donald Pleasance. He's the guy from the insane asylum, isn't he?
Yeah, he's Michael's doctor.
Yeah, and he then is the one who becomes the main protagonist. He's trying to stop Michael.
And this thing that also helps because the only words that come out of Donald Pleasance's mouth is how evil Michael is, and he's telling everyone like, I remember when they lose Michael, he's like, the evil has gone. He doesn't even associate any like human words with Michael, and that just helps to show how evil Michael is.
Definitely, yeah.
So,
good choice. All right, so moving on. My next choice is from Terminator, 1984 James Cameron film. Yeah. And that's the actual Terminator of the title. He's given the designation T-800, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's a kind of post-apocalyptical film, but then it's set in the modern day.
Yeah.
So essentially, in the future, there's an artificial intelligence defense system called Skynet. It becomes self-aware, and it initiates a nuclear holocaust. So this is in the future. A group of resistance fighters led by John Connor are on the verge of victory against Skynet and its army of machines, when Skynet kind of cheats a bit He sends a Terminator, which is a killing machine with a powerful endoskeleton surrounded by a layer of living tissue, so it appears human. He sends it back in time to kill John's mother, Sarah. The Resistance finds and captures the time machine and sends back Kyle Reese, one of the freedom fighters, to prevent the Terminator killing Sarah. So that's kind of the gist of the story.
Yeah.
The Terminator's not really evil. It's just the way it's programmed. But what makes it such a great antagonist is, again, it's like the Michael Myers thing.
Yeah.
It will not stop. It's a machine surrounded by flesh, so it can blend in. It can actually mimic voices. It's constantly learning. So it is the ultimate
killing machine, isn't it? Yeah.
And there's a line in the film when Kyle says to her, to Sarah, he says, "Listen and understand that Terminator is out there. It can't be bargained with. It can't be reasoned with. It doesn't feel pity or remorse or fear, and it absolutely will not stop ever until you're dead."
And just for that just embodies what it is, and it's a killing machine. That's what it's programmed to do.
And it's trying to kill Sarah, but it does end up killing people throughout the whole film in its pursuit of Sarah.
Well, that's the thing. There's a scene where, because there's a few different Sarah Connors, and just how.
The actual the records and documentation are very in future. It knows the city she lives in, but doesn't know where. So it's basically going through the phone book and turning up on people's doorsteps and killing anybody called Sarah Connor.
Literally, he says, "Are you Sarah Connor?" She goes, "Yes," and he doesn't even say anything. He just opens the door and it starts shooting her at point blank, kills her. Same with the other girl.
Yeah.
So like I said, he's like you said with Michael Myers, he just is got one thing and one thing only, and that's to kill.
And it goes through a series of events where it's involved. It's in a car crash. It gets in a fire. It's blown up, but it just keeps coming.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to spoil the end, but so that's why I've chosen that as one of my movie villains.
Well, this leads on to my next villain. It's the T-1000. Now, the T-1000 is the main antagonist in the 1991 James Cameron film Terminator 2: Judgment Day. He's portrayed by American actor Robert Patrick, and following the events of the original, a T-800 is sent back in time, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, and then there's a T-1000 sent back in time, who's a upgraded liquid metal version of the T-800, and spoiler alerts, it's been long enough. The T-800 has been sent back in time to protect John Connor, a young John Connor, by John Connor himself, while the T-1000 has been sent back in time to kill John Connor. The reason why he's on my list is because he's generally one of the most intimidating antagonists of all time. The T-800 in the Terminator is intimidating because of Arnold Schwarzenegger's sheer size and presence alone. Like you said, he can't be bargained with. He doesn't have any conscience almost. He just is there to be killed. And like I said, it's his sheer size and presence. He's hulking.
Because in Terminator 2, John Connor's a teenager.
Yeah, he's a teenager. Yeah.
And Sarah's been, after the event of Terminator, she's been sent to a psychiatric hospital because nobody believes
her about Skynet.
About Skynet and the Terminator and everything. And so he breaks her out of hospital, doesn't he? The T-800, and they go on the run
from the T-1000.
From the T-1000.
And also the authorities as well. But the T-1000 is intimidating because he's an upgraded Terminator. Like I said, it was made of liquid metal. This literally makes him basically unstoppable. You see countless times where he gets shot, it just goes through him, or he gets stabbed, it goes through him, and he's just basically a vessel. But where the T-800 is you can touch him, you can feel him. He's a still carcass that can be damaged with like getting shot or whatever. You just can't do that with liquid metal. Like I said, this makes him unstoppable.
And it can change its appearance as well, can't it?
Yeah, it changes appearance.
It can mould into other people.
Yeah, it can, like with the T-800, it can also mimic voices. In Terminator 2, he just keeps them coming back time after time, and it's only when he's teamed up by another T-800 when he's finally defeated. But like I said, Robert Patrick, just his performance as well, he really does embody evil. Like his first scene when he comes in, because almost they set it up like the T-800 is the bad guy, and like the T-1000 is another Michael Biehn, but just his face, he's got this scowling look, and he just looks evil, doesn't he?
Yeah,
he doesn't look like a nice person whatsoever. Because, like I said, he's not the biggest guy, is he, Rob Patrick? But just the all these factors that I've just mentioned is the reason why. I just find him so intimidating, and like I said, I'd rather come up against a T-800 than a T-1000. But yeah, like I said, these are the reasons why the T-1000 is on my list. So.
And obviously, the interesting thing about that is the fact that T-800 has a complete switch in, whereas in Terminator, he's there to kill Sarah Connor.
Yeah.
He's there to protect John Connor. And like Sarah says, what made him the ultimate sort of killing machine in the first film makes him the ultimate protector in the second film, because he will not stop. He'll sacrifice himself for John.
And that's what, like with the, in the film, he's almost like a father figure to John, isn't he? And you can see, and that's what Sarah starts realizing.
She says he's the ultimate father because he won't stop, and while John,
he has his orders, and he has to obey those orders of John, even though John's adolescent. But yeah, that's why the T-1000 is on my list. So, right, you're next.
Choice, next one is the Sheriff of Nottingham, played by Alan Rickman in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, 1991. Directed by Kevin Reynolds. And the story is essentially, everyone knows the story of Robin Hood, but during the Third Crusade, Richard the Lionheart is away in France, and he leaves the Sheriff of Nottingham to rule England. Robin of Locksley, played by Kevin Costner, he's a nobleman. He chooses to follow the king in his crusade. Meanwhile, back at Locksley Castle, Robin's father, who's loyal to the king, is attacked by the sheriff's men after refusing to join them. Meanwhile, Robin's been captured and imprisoned in Jerusalem. He breaks free. He returns to England. He finds his father dead and the castle in ruins. And he encounters a band of outlaws hiding in Sherwood Forest, led by Little John. Robin fights Little John and assumes command of the group. And what they do then is they rob any convoys that pass through the forest, and they distribute the stolen wealth amongst the poor. Rickman actually turned the role down twice until he was assured he could do pretty much what he wanted with the character. And he actually reworked some of the lines, rewrote some of the lines, because he thought the script was really poor. And he's just great. He's one of the most memorable villains of the night. He's almost pantomime, spitting, fuming, but he entirely eclipses Kevin Costner's wussy American accent in Robin Hood. So much, in fact, Costner was rumoured that he asked for some of Alan Rickman's scenes to be cut.
God.
Because when he realised how much that he was being upstaged.
Yeah.
So it is, again, it's one of those performances where you kind of have to pitch it at the level of the film. And so he does go over the top. He has there is comedy in the film, and a lot of the comedy comes from him and a lot of his lines that he's got as well. And like I say, he totally overshadows Kevin Costner in that film. Brilliant performance. It's well worth watching just for that. I think you might be disappointed in the rest of the film, but definitely watch it for that.
It's been a few years since I watched it, but I'll have to give it another watch. Right. Cool. Right. My next villain is, it's obvious with me because I always bang on about this film, but it's the Joker. And the Joker is the main antagonist in the 2008 Christopher Nolan film The Dark Knight. He's portrayed by Australian actor Heath Ledger, and for his performance, Ledger posthumously won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. And now this film, it's like, once again, it's a very simple plot, but following the events of Batman Begins, there's basically all the like the gangs, and they can't do like their deals and stuff, so they hire the Joker to kill Batman. And the reason why he's on my list is because Ledger's performance isn't just one of the best of an antagonist, but one of the best performances of all time, period. And you think of the most iconic movie characters of all time, and just in pop culture, and Batman's definitely up there, but he actually, I think, eclipses Batman in this film, and that's just saying something, isn't it?
Does he have a backstory?
This is the thing. No, he doesn't.
No.
And I think Nolan chose I think Nolan done that on purpose to make him seem mysterious, because he comes out of nowhere.
Because in the Keaton Batman, Jack Nicholson plays the Joker.
Yeah.
And his background is that he was a small-time criminal. He actually killed Batman's parents, but he became disfigured.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of made him go over the edge and be a little bit mental.
He does say how he got his scars and stuff. But yeah, like I said, I think Nolan decided not to go too much into his background and leave it a mystery, like with Michael Myers, because it just makes it more mysterious and gives a better watch, in my opinion. But the Joker may not be the most physically intimidating antagonist. Heath Ledger isn't the biggest guy, but the fact that he's so unpredictable and so evil is what makes him send shivers up your spine. Like, there's scenes where he's talking to Batman, and you'd think that someone hired to kill him would, he could pull out a knife, he could pull out a bomb, like he ties people up to bombs and stuff. And I think it's that unpredictability that just puts you on the edge of your seat every time you see him. Everyone knows how legendary Ledger's performance was. I don't need to tell you that, but it is the closest performance of any comic character I've ever seen. When he appears on the screen in the apartment scenes, you can see Michael Caine step back, and he actually looks absolutely terrified of Ledger. This is like his genuine reaction to seeing him for the first time. Like, he steps back, and you can see him. I think he mutters some words that you can't hear about being Cockney, wouldn't it? And Ledger's performance, in my opinion, alone has helped the Joker as a character reach the heights of film lore that only maybe Darth Vader has reached. And like I said, I could bang on forever about this film, but these are just some of the reasons why the Joker is on my list. So
yeah, a good choice. Because like Batman is the Christopher Nolan one is a very dark film, and it's a very kind of serious film. I think you have to be balanced in your performance, that you don't go too over the top and too campy.
Well, this thing with the Joker, he I go back to the 90s films. They are very campy, but these are they are really serious crime thrillers, and they're so gritty. And of course, Heath Ledger plays the Joker, and he's really gritty. But there's a few things he does, like he's quite over the top, like a couple times, but I think that just gives the film a good balance, because it's not so dark that you can't enjoy it. So, but yeah, like I said, every time he gets on the screen, he's funny as well, and that's the thing. Like, for a film so dark, he's funny, and you actually get a few laughs. So yeah, that's the reason why he's on my list. But
yeah, good. Okay, moving on. My next one is Jaws, the 1975 thriller from Steven Spielberg, and I've chosen the shark.
Yeah,
who I think was nicknamed Bruce. Each film, the shark was nicknamed something different.
I didn't realise that. I knew he was called Bruce, but
yeah. So you should know the story, really. It's a great white shark. It's attacking and killing swimmers off of the coast of Amity Island. Chief of the police, Martin Brody, along with shark expert Matt Hooper and grizzly shark fisherman Quint, must hunt down and destroy the shark. Now, you could say, well, sharks themselves, they're not evil. They're just doing what they do, As Hooper puts it, it's a machine. It swims, it eats and makes little sharks. But there's something slightly different, more sinister to the shark. Again, it taps into that sort of Michael Myers Terminator, unstoppable thing. Yeah. It's relentless. It keeps coming after them. And I think there's something very primeval about it that kind of taps into our psyche.
Yeah.
Even now, when I go swimming in the sea, I go out of my depth. I'm always worried about what's underneath me.
Even though we live in England.
Even now, yeah, and that is. And it did, even though shark attacks are rare, it did actually give people a really
that's the reason why
fear of sharks.
Yeah, that's the reason why the modern fear of sharks really is a thing, isn't it? Because of Jaws.
But the shark in this film, it's bigger. It seems more intelligent. It actually targets them. It attacks their boat.
Yeah.
The way it jumps onto the boat at the end to attack Quint. It just seemed there's something almost supernatural about it.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of suspense. I know there was, if you watch any documentary about making of Jaws, they had all sorts of problems with the mechanical sharks. So they didn't delay filming. They had to come up with some way of showing the shark was there without actually showing the shark. So these scenes like in the pier scene where the guys are fishing with the Sunday roast, you've got the chain. The shark drags the chain off. You don't see the shark, you just see the chain going off. You see it pulls the pier, the guy goes in the water, the pier slowly turns around and coming back, so the shark's coming after him. And it's that kind of suspense there. And the idea with the barrels as well. This idea of shooting barrels into the shark so it can't go under the water, that was really just to give you an idea the shark was there.
It works so well, though, doesn't it?
And there's a scene where he says, he can't go under with 3 barrels. No, they can go under with 3 barrels, and he goes under.
Yeah.
So that, again, adds to something to the, this whole... The shark's something different.
Keeps on breaking down hurdles you thought it couldn't.
Yeah. So that's why I've chosen it.
Yeah.
And I think it's just going to be an enduring image.
Yeah. People are always going to have a phobia of sharks, largely in part due to this film. So. Yeah,
and this film was considered the first summer blockbuster. I think it was the highest grossing film.
Yeah, it was.
At the time.
And it was an 18 as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. So, brilliant film.
So, like I said, it's one of my favourites all time, and definitely. My next is Jason Voorhees. Jason Voorhees is the main antagonist in the 80s/90s slasher franchise, Friday the 13th. He is portrayed by many different stunt actors throughout, most famously by American Kane Hodder. It's not Hodder that I'm basing my ranking on, though. It's English stuntman Richard Brooker. Now, it's like with the Friday the 13th films, they're never going to win an Oscar or anything, all it is in the first film, Jason's mum goes on a killing spree because her son Jason drowned, and it was due to the camp counselors. And then she dies, and then Jason comes back, and he starts killing as revenge at anyone who goes to Camp Crystal Lake, which is the main place where it happens. And like I said, every film is basically the same thing. It follows the same formula, so I'm not going to go into detail. But Richard Brooker portrays Jason in the third film in the franchise, and like I said, it's still set in Crystal Lake, and it's still him killing people. The reason why I picked Brooker is because in the first movie, like I said, in the first movie, Jason isn't even in film, and the second movie, Jason is portrayed by Warrington Gillette. Now, Warrington Gillette is quite slim, and he plays the infamous sackhead Jason. I don't know if you've heard of the sackhead Jason.
I've seen that, yeah.
In which he wears a potato sack on his head, and it, quite frankly, looks ridiculous. Also, I've had people call him Hillbilly Jason. He's also really dumb in the film. He gets bested by the camp counselors over and over again. Part 3 is actually the first time we see Jason don the iconic mask, hockey mask. That's the first time it appears, even though it's so iconic. And it just happens to be the same film that Richard Brooker is in. And also, Richard Brooker is 6'4", and he poses a real physical presence. He's hulking. He's almost as big as a fridge. He's like a forward of like a rugby player, sort of thing. And he set the tone for which every actor of Jason since has based their performances on. Along with the physical presence, Jason in this film also almost toys with his victims. There's a scene at the end in the barn where you can actually see him laughing at one of the girls because she is scared. This just shows you how really evil he is. That he finds that funny. He takes pride and he can laugh at that. But yeah, if it weren't for Booker, we wouldn't have got the iconic Jason Voorhees everyone knows. And yeah, these are the reasons why Jason Voorhees is on my list. Like I said, he's not the most talked about, but he is the original Jason Voorhees that we see. So
yeah, good, okay. My next one is Darth Vader, played by Dave Prowse, voiced by James Earl Jones, and he appears obviously in the Star Wars franchise.
Yeah.
Created by George Lucas. So we first see Darth Vader. I'm not going to talk about Anakin Skywalker. I'm going to talk about when he first sort of dons the suit.
yeah,
That's right at the end of Revenge of the Sith. And there's not really a lot in there. He just sort of walks about a bit, and that's it. You then see him. Obviously, he first appears in A New Hope, but he first appears in canon as well in Rogue One. So you see a little bit more of him, his character. You see his power. There's a fight scene where he takes on, I don't know, quite a lot of rebels.
he just decimates.
Yeah,
them.
definitely. And then moving on to A New Hope. Again, you don't really see a lot of his power. You see him use the Force to choke a guy. There's a bit of a fight with Obi-Wan where, although he defeats Obi-Wan actually lets him kill him. And then there's the attack on the Death Star. So you see him as a pilot.
Yeah.
And again, you don't really see a lot of his powers. He's supposed to be this great Jedi. Moving on to Empire, again, you see a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
There's obviously the epic fight scene with Luke, where you get the ultimate reveal. But you see a little bit more of his personality. You find a little bit more about his backstory. And then obviously Return of the Jedi. Obviously Luke finally accepts that Darth Vader is his father. And he can sense good in him, but his father disagrees with him. Luke doesn't feel he's gonna turn him over to the Emperor, but he does. And then there's this, obviously, the rest of the film is about the Emperor trying to make Luke turn to the dark side. There's a fight scene between Luke and Darth Vader. But in the end, Luke won't turn, so the Emperor is going to destroy him. And then, right at the end, Darth Vader, the conflict in him grows, and he ends up saving his son. So yeah, it's a great villain. He doesn't hesitate to kill his old master. He doesn't hesitate to kill people. He tortures Han. He aims to turn his own son over to the Empire. There's a lot of things that he's done in his backstory as well.
Yeah.
Involving hunting down and killing Jedi.
He has a physical presence as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, it does, definitely. So, I think a lot of people say he's the kind of the ultimate film villain.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't disagree.
No.
Really. There's not really a lot else you can say about it. You just, I think most people would have seen Star Wars, would have seen Darth Vader, and know exactly what he's about. So.
Right. Okay. Well, this is leading on to my next villain. It's Anakin Skywalker. So it's before he turns into Darth Vader, and Anakin Skywalker, most famously known as Darth Vader, is the main antagonist in the Star Wars franchise. He's portrayed by Canadian actor Hayden Christensen in the prequels. First off, we all know how we feel about Hayden Christensen as Darth Vader. It wasn't the best casting choice. In episode 2, he was basically unwatchable. That's why I'm basing my list on his performance from episode 3 and episode 3 alone. And basically in episode 3, it shows how he's been in conflict through the first two films, and Episode 3 finally falls to the dark side. But yeah, now that I've got that out of the way, these are the reasons why he's on my list. In Episode 3, he's much less whiny, and you can actually see at points how he became Darth Vader. This was seriously lacking in Episode 2. Hayden Christensen embodies what it means to be Vader, the evil that he possesses, and this ability to possess the evil is a big reason why George Lucas cast him in the first place. I mean, he even famously said that's literally the main reason why he did. In this film, you can see at points where he really, nearly of sorts, lets the dark side take over. You can see the conflict and see how unbalanced of a person he is in this film. It's like the light and dark side are like fighting out to take over him, and this is something that Christensen does very well. Also, like how vulnerable he is in this film. He's got so much power, but also he's there's scenes where he's crying because that's just the conflict. Like he's doing these things, but he knows they're wrong, but he knows he has to do them at the same time as well. And this gives him emotion, and it's this emotion which we can relate to. He also shows how powerful and willing he is. I use the youngling scene as an example. In that scene, he kills the younglings who are about 5-6 years old. I think that he delivers his lines brilliantly, even though it's not the best dialogue that he's delivering. For example, before and during the Battle of Mustafar with Obi-Wan, he's almost warning, pleading for Obi-Wan to join him. And this almost, once again, shows that he still has some sort of a heart, that he's not fully to the dark side because he never was. But yeah, like I said, with Darth Vader, there's not much you can really say because everyone knows how iconic and how evil he is. But yeah, these are the reasons why Anakin.
Well, he was kind of manipulated by Palpatine. A lot. Jedi's aren't supposed to be emotional. They're supposed to hide their emotions. But that's kind of what, like you say, he was very emotional.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what allowed him to go to the dark side.
He lost the trust of the Jedi Council because they were, and that's the thing with the Jedi Council in episode 3. They are somewhat hypocritical because they tell him not to do things, but things they wouldn't tell him to do, they tell him to do. And he's got that father figure in Palpatine, and he at the end of the day he allows Palpatine to manipulate him, and that's all this combines, and this is the reason why he falls to the dark side. Yeah. But like I said, I think even though, like I said, we all know how Hayden Christensen is, but I think in this film, at points you can see how he could be Vader, and he tells the story very well. So yeah,
I'm sure I read somewhere that obviously at the end of Revenge of the Sith, he's horrifically injured, isn't he?
Obviously, he gets burnt by the lava. He gets his limbs chopped off.
That's obviously why he has to have the suit to basically keep him alive. But I think I read somewhere that means that he's in constant pain, and that kind of adds to his.
So what Palpatine did is with the suit he made it so it puts Anakin in constant pain, and this basically tortures him.
Yeah, tortures him and keeps him kind of at the
angry,
dark
side. Yeah. So, but a lot of it is to do with Palpatine, but this is the reasons why he's on my list. So, right,
because he's kind of weird. Because the end of Return of the Jedi, he's trying to turn Luke to the dark side, but then obviously the rule of two would mean that Darth Vader would have to die, wouldn't he?
Yeah,
because there can only be two Siths
at any point.
At any point.
But yeah, I think obviously Palpatine probably knew all along that he didn't want Vader anymore, so he wanted Luke to strike Vader down and then join him at his side. So
maybe he did want that to happen, possibly.
Well, maybe he with Palpatine, he obviously planned well in advance to take over, so he's probably planned that as well. So,
because in The Empire Strikes Back, he said part of his speech, didn't he? He said, "Join me, and we can rule the galaxy together." So it would suggest there that he had
Vader
plans to get rid of Palpatine, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
like I said, I never believed that
no.
that Vader was fully into everything Palpatine done. There's always that conflict within him, and like I said, he was never fully bad. And the bad things he did do was under Palpatine. It wasn't coming from him himself. So but
cool.
we could bang on that stuff.
yeah. So moving on, a little bit of a lighter note. My next villain is Dennis, played by Alec Baldwin, and he appears in the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, 2004, directed by Steven Hillenburg.
Yeah.
And the story is that Plankton steals King Neptune's crown, and he frames Mr. Krabs so he can steal the Krabby Patty secret formula and take over the world. And SpongeBob and Patrick team up to retrieve the crown from Shell City to save Mr. Krabs. Now, Dennis is hired by Plankton, and Dennis is a murderous fish bounty hunter, and he's hired to kill SpongeBob and Patrick and prevent the two from finding King Neptune's crown.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of times in the film that he appears, but he's one of those Terminator-like characters.
Appears over and over again. Yeah.
He seems to enjoy violence.
Yeah.
There's a scene where he's got a boot with spikes on.
Yeah, big
and
boot.
Just the fact that he's going to enjoy killing SpongeBob is enough to make him a villain.
Yeah.
On this list, how could anybody?
Well, this is it. Of course, he has the at the end of the film, the Hasselhoff scene. He has the big the shock time where you thought he was dead and he wasn't, and he eventually almost toyed with them as well. Like you said, he enjoyed the fact that he was going to kill them.
Yeah. So that's why he's on my list.
Yeah. No, very good one, mate. Right, going a bit darker than that. My next villain is Thanos, and Thanos is the main antagonist in the Avengers franchise. He is portrayed by American actor Josh Brolin, and I think it's odd how Thanos literally only appears in three of the 23 Marvel Cinematic Universe films, but he's regarded as one of the greatest villains of all time. This is a testament to just how good Josh Brolin's performance is and how well written the character of Thanos is. Unlike the other villains on the list, I don't see Thanos as this character who embodies evil. At the heart of it, he believes he is saving the universe, and that's what his motivation is. So in the film, Infinity War, like all of Earth's natural resources, all the universe's resources are failing. Like there's too much of a population, so he goes around and gets these stones called the Infinity Stones, and his plan is to wipe out half of the population, so the universe can prosper again. So it's not exactly an evil act, but it is at the same time. This makes him unique, and it is sort of refreshing as well. It's not just some guy going around killing for the sake of it, you know. It's the thing, when you get an antagonist who is so wrapped up and who believes that what he's doing is the right thing, it generally is fascinating. And of course, he is physically imposing. But I think the most intimidating thing about him is the fact he's willing to risk it all to complete his mission. And spoiler alert, he even kills his own daughter, Gamora, to fulfill his mission. And yeah, like I said, these are the reasons why he's on my list. But like I said, it's just the sheer motivation behind it, and it's a different way to take things, and it's a different take on a villain. And he obviously is a testament to Thanos that you've got all these different star characters, and it is him who's the one who stands out. But yeah, I'm mostly basing it off of Infinity War because I think Thanos has used the best in Infinity War. So yeah, that's why he's on my list.
Yeah, cool. So moving on, my next one is Anton Chigurh, played by Javier Bardem.
Yep. And
he appears in the 2007 film No Country for Old Men, directed by Joel and Ethan Coen. And brief plot is that Llewellyn Moss, played by Josh Brolin, is out hunting. He comes across the aftermath of a drug deal gone bad. He finds several dead men, a dying man asking for water, and a stash of drugs and $2 million in a briefcase. He takes a briefcase of money and he goes home. And he wakes up in the middle of the night. He's feeling guilty. So he returns to the scene with water for the dying guy. But he finds out he's already dead. But then a truck pulls up and he's basically chased by these two guys. And he manages to escape into a river. He goes home because what's happened is he's left his truck behind and they're able to trace him through his license plate. So he goes home, sends his wife Carla Jean to stay with her mother, and then he basically goes on the run with the briefcase. Anton Chigurh is basically a hitman, and he's hired to recover the money. He's got no backstory. You see him at the start of the film. He's pulled over by a sheriff. He's taken into the sheriff's office, and he manages to escape by killing the sheriff. So it shows that he's willing to kill, quite easily. He's got no remorse. Again, it's like he's got this weird hairstyle as well. So it's almost alien-like. He just appeared out of nowhere. Like I say, he's got no backstory. He's sent after Moss, and he's got this habit of giving his victims a chance to survive by flipping a coin. It's like he goes into a gas station and he's talking to this guy, and this guy's asking questions, and he obviously doesn't like, the fact he's asking questions about him, and he gets him to flip a coin. Knowing that if he loses, he's going to kill him, and that's how sort of cold he is as a murderer. And one of his favourite sayings is, "What's the most you've ever lost on a coin toss?" And it's quite chilling because he manages to find Moss's wife, Carla Jean, and he sits there and he's actually saying, "Yeah, I'm going to kill you, on Moss, unless you tell me, where he is." So it's quite a chilling character. Seems to have no remorse or compassion for other human beings. But I think he's a brilliant character, very well acted.
And he won, Javier Bardem won the Oscar, didn't he, for that?
That's right.
He's definitely on a lot of lists, but rightly. And he's just a weird person, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's just a weird character. He's got no, of course, it's not a main thing, but he's got no social skills whatsoever. No. He's even though he's a person, he's almost like a human Terminator, isn't he?
Definitely, yeah.
Because he just keeps showing up time and time again. And go back to the hotel scene, where you can just see his feet underneath, and he has that contraption where it can shoot off an air
gun type thing.
Shoot off the door handles. But he's got one mission, and he's not gonna stop until he completes it. So
definitely very chilling character.
Right. My next character is Patrick Bateman, and Patrick Bateman is the main antagonist in the 2000 Mary Harron film American Psycho.
I've actually never seen American Psycho. It's on my list that I'm going to.
It's a very good film. One of my favourites. He's portrayed by English actor Christian Bale, and the thing is, the reason why he's on my list is because, firstly, American Psycho is a unique film in which the main antagonist, Patrick Bateman, happens to be also the main character. This is a very interesting movie, and it makes the film feel different. And I love unique films like that. You know, Christian Bale really shows his acting prowess in this film, and he really does put everything into portraying Bateman. And this pays off for me personally, as I don't see Bale, I see the character he's playing, which you think it could be easy, like they're playing a character, so you can see the character, but even someone as famous and well known as Bale, I don't see Bale as himself in this film. I see him as the character he's playing. He makes for a good watch. It's a fascinating portrayal in which we see how a serial killer really acts in his day-to-day life, compared to when he is committing murder. As the film goes on and he is suspected to be the murderer even more, we really do see Bateman start to deteriorate. How he acts with other people, how he looks, his overall well-being, it changes. Bale really does show this throughout the film, and it keeps us hooked to the character. And like I said, as the film progresses, you can really see him those layers start to come down and get scraped down, you know. And yeah, overall, he's just one crazy son of a bitch, basically. And like I said, he really does show that he's just pure and utter crazy. Like, he doesn't. It's not like he kills because he's got like this huge chip in his shoulder. He's got a vendetta. He just kills for the sake of it because he's just crazy. He's just purely, utterly crazy. And yeah, this is the reason why Bateman's on my list.
Good job. Definitely check that out, film out, I think.
That's a good one.
So my next one is Commodus, played by Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah.
He appears in the 2000 film Gladiator, directed by Ridley Scott. And the brief plot is that after battling with the Germans for Marcus Aurelius, the General Maximus, he decides he wants to retire back to his Spanish farm. But the Emperor tells him that he doesn't feel that his son Commodus is fit to inherit and to rule Rome. So he wants to appoint Maximus as regent and to turn it back into a republic. When Marcus Aurelius tells Commodus his decision, Commodus, he's always felt ignored by his father and unloved. He flies into a rage and strangles him. Commodus asks Maximus for his loyalty, but Maximus suspects foul play and refuses. So Commodus has Maximus arrested and orders him executed. He manages to escape, makes a long journey back to his farm in Spain, but he arrives too late to find that Commodus's men have burnt it to the ground and they've murdered his wife and son. And then Maximus is found and basically sold into being a gladiator, eventually making it to Rome, where he actually faces Commodus. And Commodus, being the guy he is, he mortally wounds Maximus so that he has an advantage in the battle. So it's a really good performance, I think. You know, Commodus is cruel. He's a psychopath. There's a bit of incest there with his sister. You know, he thinks of himself as a god. He's almost like a petulant child. He just wants people to love him, even to the point of threatening his own the life of his own nephew, so to control his sister. So he's really an evil character. He's you know, like I say, he's probably like a spoiled brat. He's been brought up, given everything he ever wanted. And
when stuff doesn't go his way, he always, there's this thing where they're all chatting for Maximus, and he has a tantrum, doesn't he?
Definitely, yeah.
Like that goes back to the petulant child.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a really good performance, and it really does offset that kind of performance by Russell Crowe as this hero gladiator as well. So I think he is one of the best modern villains, I think.
I think the reason why he is as well is because you physically hate him.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
There's very few villains where you actually physically hate, like you have an actual vendetta against.
There's lots of villains that you can understand, you know, the way they are because their upbringing or something, events that have happened, or there's something about them that maybe you feel a little bit of sympathy for, but for him, you don't at all feel any sympathy.
You actually have human hate for him.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Right. Like I said, on a much lighter note, my next villain is the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. And Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, known as Mr. Stay Puft, is, you know, he's an antagonist, but he's almost like the final boss of sorts, isn't he? In the 1984 Ivan Reitman film Ghostbusters. Yeah, it's like you're playing a game, you're leveling up, and he's the boss. Yeah. He's portrayed by American stunt actor Bill Bryan, and so I'll just give you a bit of what the plot's about. So they're scientists who lose their jobs and they become ghost hunters, and the scientists are played by Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, and Harold Ramis. Yep. And they become ghost hunters, and one of their clients, played by Sigourney Weaver, starts getting possessed by the demon Zul, who is like this almost dog. And basically what happens is she becomes possessed and she becomes the is it the Keymaster?
Yeah. Keymaster.
Gatekeeper. And what's the...
But basically, there's an increase in like supernatural activities in there, and it's all centered around the building that she lives in.
Yeah.
And they realise that the building, the actual architecture is such that it's going to be a gateway for essentially the end of the world, isn't it?
Yeah.
That and they have a choice of what form that.
Well, yeah. The form what their end is going to be, and Stay Puft appears at the end of the film when Ray can't help but think of Stay Puft marshmallows, because they all try and like clear their mind, don't they?
So although it's kind of a childhood sort of innocuous sort of form, essentially it's here to destroy the world.
Yeah. But what I love is as you hear his footsteps, they're like, what the hell is that? He just appears on screen and he's just this huge marshmallow man. He's that physical presence, and he's literally as big as the skyscrapers around him, isn't he? And
there's a scene in there. He said, "It's Bill Murray is Venkman." He's going, "I didn't think of anything. Did you?" He goes, "No. Did you? No." And it's like Ray's like going, "I couldn't help it, guys."
This is the thing with Stay Puft, like he just has this like set smile that stares into your soul, And like I said, overall, he's just an iconic character. And like, he's not necessarily the antagonist in the film, but he is the like I said, the final hurdle in their way. And yeah, that's the reason why I just wanted to include Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, like. So yeah,
but it is evil because it's intending to end the world.
The world, yeah,
definitely.
Right, that's why he's on my list. Right.
Okay, moving on. My next choice is Hannibal Lecter, and I'm choosing The Silence of the Lambs, the 1991 Jonathan Demme film with Anthony Hopkins. This isn't the first time Hannibal Lecter has appeared on film. There was a 1986 film directed by Jonathan Demme called Manhunter, and that was based on Thomas Harris's first book, Red Dragon, and it starred Brian Cox as Lecter, but didn't do so well as this film. So that's why I've chosen the Anthony Hopkins performance, because that obviously got an Oscar for that as well.
Yeah.
And I think the film won an Oscar for Best Picture as well. And Hopkins did reprise his role in two films. They went back and filmed Red Dragon, I think about 10 years later. And then another book, Hannibal, but I don't think either was as successful as Silence of the Lambs. So essentially the story is that there's a serial killer on the loose. He's nicknamed Buffalo Bill because he kidnaps, mutilates and murders young women. FBI trainee Clarice Starling, played by Jodie Foster, is sent to interview the imprisoned serial killer Dr. Hannibal Lecter. She's told it's just a routine thing. They're wanting to ask him to fill in a questionnaire, but what they actually want him to do is to help them in the case and shed some insight into Buffalo Bill, which he finally does. What makes his performance so great is I think he appears on screen for like less than 20 minutes, but he's just a memorable character.
Yeah.
There has been, like I say, a couple of films after that and a TV series which details sort of the backstory of Hannibal Lecter. But essentially, he was a psychiatrist. He would kill and eat his victims. That's why he got his nickname, Hannibal the Cannibal. He's highly intelligent. He's impeccably cultured, sophisticated. And rather than killing for fun, he actually kills those people who exhibit poor taste or bad manners. Because fine taste and good manners being both an obsession and a compulsion for him. So, like I said, not like a lot of serial killers. He doesn't just go around targeting anybody.
Yeah.
And obviously, being intelligent and psychiatrist, you'd expect him to know what he is, and he does. He believes himself to be evil. Again, he's exceptionally charming, but there is that sinister thing there. And when she's talking to him, you kind of forget that he's a serial killer, and that he's actually the things that he's done, very violent things, and obviously eating people as well. So I think that's what makes him such a great character.
Yeah,
he's almost likable as well in a way.
Yeah.
You kind of like we were saying before about Commodus being, there's nothing about him that you don't hate Hannibal Lecter, and you actually feel some sympathy for him in the film as well. So yeah, he's kind of a complex character, but again, a great performance. Judging by the fact he only appears on film for such a short space of time, and he's kind of a very memorable villain.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
I'm going to keep this one short and sweet. My next villain is Lord Farquaad from Shrek, mate. It's odd because Lord Farquaad is the main antagonist in the 2001 Andrew Adamson film Shrek. He's voiced by American actor John Lithgow, but what I love about Lord Farquaad is he isn't necessarily evil. Like that evil is almost as if the viewer has the upper hand on him, and this is because he's like the stereotypical douchebag villain, isn't he? He's generally funny.
Yeah, because I think if I can remember, because it's been a while, but isn't it? He just wants to have the perfect kingdom, so that's why.
But he wants to also get with Fiona as well.
Yeah, but that's why he rounds up all the fairy tale animals and deports them to Shrek's swamp.
Yeah, and it's very much like he's Commodus as well. He's like he's used to getting everything his way. He's like a crybaby, but like I said, he is that douchebag villain, and he is genuinely funny. Like there's things he does where it will have you laughing, and it's like you don't laugh with him, you laugh at him, and that's a very different thing for a villain. And I think you just laugh at how much of a melt he is. Like he is like a,
because he's self-conscious about his height as well, isn't he?
Yeah,
and that adds a little bit of the humour to it.
Like I said, he is the butt of the joke, isn't he? And it's funny to see him get rejected by Fiona because he thinks he's this ladies' man that everyone wants him. And like I said, it's very. I know Shrek's like a family film, but it's just refreshing to see a villain where you could actually laugh at them, and they're the ones that are like trying to prove something instead of
Yeah. But it's kind of, he doesn't know that people are laughing at him, does he? He kind of, he's not self-aware.
He's got a big ego, and it's just funny to see that get crushed. But
and he tortures a gingerbread man, so that's evil, isn't it?
How dare you do that? Yeah. But yeah, like I said, that's just, I love it because you can laugh at him, and he doesn't do anything that evil, but it's like I said, it's just funny to see him fail in everything he's trying to do. So yeah.
Okay, so my next one is The Predator from the film Predator, 1987 John McTiernan film, and that's played by Peter Michael Hall. Although originally Jean-Claude Van Damme was cast to play. Peter Michael Hall's, I think, 6'10".
Jean-Claude Van Damme's not even 6 foot.
Yeah, and I think there is some test footage that they shot of him in this kind of Predator suit, and I think he left, didn't he, because it was just so uncomfortable to wear this suit, and he couldn't.
It was like a praying mantis.
Yeah, and he couldn't really move because obviously he's kind of a karate guy, and I don't think he could actually do any of his moves in the suit. So, Predator stars Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he's the leader of an ex-elite paramilitary rescue team on a mission to save hostages in guerrilla-held territory in Central American rainforest. Central American countries, it's in the throes of civil war. They locate the rebels' camp, but they also find the remains of another special forces team that have all been killed and skinned. So they're a little bit concerned about that. They go in, they rescue the hostages, and the scenes, the actual location's too hot for them to send in a helicopter rescue. So they have to get to a location where they can be airlifted out. And what they don't realise is they're being hunted by this predator who's a technologically advanced alien, and he's basically stalking them. And then it's that typical horror sort of trope where they're being picked off one by one. and till only their leader is left, and so then because the Predator can identify technology, he kind of goes old school. So he's building these traps out of wood and things like that, using spears and things to sort of engage in single combat with him. So, and at the end, the Predator, knowing that it's defeated, it sets a bomb to blow itself up. So again, it's not really evil. It's kind of doing what it does.
Yeah.
I mean, predators, they are hunters. It's a sport to them. It's a game. They're there to kind of pit themselves against the best. The best.
Think of it as like humans doing bird hunting, isn't it? It's like
yeah. It's like hunting like a tiger or a lion. You know, they're trying to hunt. They're trying to go up against the most dangerous prey to pit themselves against that. And there's a scene in the film where when they rescue the hostages, they take one of the it's a woman. They take her with them, and she's not armed, and she's the only one who's not killed because it only attacks people who are armed. But again, it's a great character. It's a great sort of premise as well. I think don't think it's sort of been done before. An alien coming to Earth, and so it was really good. And obviously, it spawned sequels and crossovers with Alien and everything else. But I think as a character, Predator, was a really good antagonist. Because again, it uses a cloaking device. You can't see it, so it's that kind of unknown. And like I say, it's using that old sort of horror trope of picking one off at a time.
Yeah.
And there's that paranoia as well that builds up. So it's a really good film. I think a really good antagonist.
Right, my next is Simon Phoenix, and Simon Phoenix is the main antagonist in the 1993 Marco Bambia film Demolition Man. He's portrayed by American actor Wesley Snipes, and basically the premise of Demolition Man is John Spartan, played by Sylvester Stallone, is like it's set in the late 20th century, and he's like the best cop, and Simon Phoenix is this mastermind criminal, and they kind of go back and forth. They've encountered each other a couple of times, and he captures Snipes only after he's blown up a building that's killed civilians. So they both get cryogenically frozen because that's their punishment. And when Snipes is ready to be, it's like goes years into the future, and he's unfrozen to go to court, but he escapes. So they have to unfreeze John Spartan to go and capture him again. And for me personally, Simon Phoenix is hands down the best part of Demolition Man.
Because in the future, violence is no longer a thing, is it?
Yeah,
and
no.
So they need
they
need somebody from his time period to,
and plus because they know each other, and he's caught him before. That's why he gets John Spartan gets unfrozen as well. But like I said, I think Simon Phoenix is hands down the best part of Demolition Man. Like he's meant to be the bad guy, but I cannot help but side with him. Like he's cocky, arrogant, and he knows that he can do anything he wants. He can. He's another one where he kills and he doesn't give a thought to it. He almost kills and he laughs about it. He's generally funny, and that's somewhat different. He also has a bit of personality about him. He's also some guy going around killing. There's certain remarks that he has that will leave you physically laughing. He just all round certainly heightens the enjoyment factor of the film he's in.
It's certainly a period when Wesley Snipes was big, wasn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
And then he sort of tailed away popularity.
But this is right during it.
Yeah.
But no, like I said, that he definitely heightens the enjoyment factor for this film for me personally, and definitely give it a watch if you haven't. So, yeah.
Okay. So the next one is Roy Batty, played by Rutger Hauer, and he's from the 1982 film directed by Ridley Scott, Blade Runner. I actually watched this again yesterday, and I just forgot how great a film it is. Really good. It's set in future Los Angeles of 2019, which is kind of, again, a dystopian future. And what they've done, the Tyrell Corporation, they have basically genetically engineered humans known as replicants, and they're used for like off-planet work, and because they have a tendency to be
Violent, and
emotionally. They have emotional issues which makes them violent. So they've been outlawed on Earth. And any replicant that comes to Earth is pursued by a special police unit called the Blade Runners, and they retire them, which means they just basically kill them. The only way to determine if they're a replicant is they have to give them a test, and it's all against empathy and their response to that as well. But what they've done is they've developed a new replicant called the Nexus 6, and that's designed to be better than humans except for their emotions. So what they've done is to be able to control them better, they give them false memories, and that's supposed to act as a cushion for their emotions. But knowing that they will eventually develop their own emotions, they've built them with a 4-year lifespan. So what happened is a group of Nexus 6 replicants led by Roy Batty, they come to Earth. They want to basically extend their lifespan. So they're trying to get to Dr. Tyrell. They've killed a lot of people. They've done a lot of bad things. Retired Blade Runner Rick Decker, played by Harrison Ford, he reluctantly agrees to come back and work for the Blade Runners and hunt down these replicants. And he eventually kills them all apart from Roy, who actually he does actually manage to meet Tyrell. And when Tyrell says he can't do anything about extending their lifespan, he kills him as well. But the final of the film, it's a chase across the rooftops. Harrison Ford, Decker, he tries to jump from one roof to another, and he doesn't quite make it. He's hanging off the roof. Roy Batty jumps across, he easily makes it, and he could easily kill him, but he doesn't. He actually saves him in the end, because he knows that he's coming to the end of his life, and he's basically facing his fate. He gives this really sort of eloquent monologue and then just calmly dies. So again, he's not really a villain because it's maybe the ways that he's been engineered. All he wants is what everybody wants, is to survive. He has done some horrible things. He's a mass murderer. He's done some very despicable things. But again, you feel a bit of sympathy for him in the end. But it raises like philosophical questions about, what makes a human a human. Is a genetically engineered human a human? Is it our emotions that makes us human? Is it our memories? So, yeah, there's a lot of questions that it raises. But his performance is really good. Again, he's one of these on screen. He's mesmerizing, very eloquent. He's stronger, more intelligent than human. But like I say, his performance is really good. And in the end, he realizes the value of life and actually saves Decker's life. So, yeah. That's why I think he's quite a good
definitely
antagonist.
Definitely one of the best.
Yeah.
Right. My next is not Emperor, but Senator Palpatine. Now, Senator Palpatine, along with Darth Vader, is the main antagonist in the Star Wars franchise. He is essentially Darth Vader's boss, in simple terms. He's portrayed by Scottish actor Ian McDiarmid, and like I said, I'm going to focus on Palpatine in the prequels when he hasn't hit the heights of Emperor yet. So that's why I call him Senator. First off, Ian McDiarmid is one of the best and most respected actors to have come from the UK. You know, he's Shakespearean trained, and you can really see this in his performances. In the sequels, you can see that he has this underlying evil without giving too much away. The darkness comes out every now and then before quickly being shelved. For an example, it's in the scene where he tells Anakin about the story of Darth Plagueis. You can see how much of a whale of a time he's having about talking about the dark side, and then he quickly snaps back to normal. You know, along the course of Episode 3, he gradually persuades Anakin and abuses his trust, eating away at each layer until he eventually turns Anakin to the dark side. Once he reveals the fact that he is a Sith Lord, he completely changes, and this is the Palpatine we see in the originals. I love Palpatine in Episode 3. I think he's the best character in the whole of the prequels because he toys with his enemies. He even goes as far to toy with Jedi Grandmaster Yoda. This is because he knows how powerful he is, and he knows he can defeat anyone, and that just sums up Palpatine, doesn't it? He literally is the embodiment of evil, and he doesn't give a damn. And the fact that he was to do with the whole prequels and how he rose to prominence, he had that planned out the whole time. A couple of things didn't go his way. Like Darth Maul was meant to be his new apprentice for the long run. Obi-Wan then ends up killing him, and then he gets in Count Dooku as his apprentice. But he knew how powerful Anakin was because throughout the prequels he's almost like the father figure of Anakin, and he realizes how powerful Anakin is and how many midichlorians he has. And he knows that Anakin can kill Dooku in the start of Episode 3, so he makes them fight, and he tells Anakin to kill Dooku so he can have, like we were saying before, the rule of 2. He can have a new apprentice, and throughout the movie, he just toys with Anakin. He plays on his emotion because Anakin is a very emotional person, and he is the one that projects the visions of Padme dying in childbirth during his sleep, and this is the big reason why Anakin does turn to the dark side. Because going back to the conversation with him and Anakin, he tells of the story of Darth Plagueis the Wise, which was Palpatine's master, and he was so powerful in the Force, in the dark side, that he was able to almost manipulate the midichlorians to create life and also save life as well. And where Anakin is so in love with Padme, he's willing to almost turn to the dark side in order to save her, even though he's not doing anyone any favours. And even after Anakin's turned to the dark side, even after he's suited up as in Vader's suit, he tells Anakin that he was the one that killed Padme, when that just isn't true, and that keeps him in like constant pain, and that's what also that's mental pain, but also the suit with the physical pain, and that just shows the depths that he's willing to go to keep him by his side, and it's just pure evil.
Yeah. Because all the way through the Skywalker saga, it's kind of he claims that it was, it was all down to him. It's his design that everything happened according to, his will.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely probably one of the best villains.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like Vader's obviously up the top, but I tell you what, Palpatine's not far behind because Palpatine is the Vader's the pawn and all of this. Palpatine is the puppet master, and he's
well, it's the way he the way he manipulates the council and everything.
Yeah.
The way he gets like Jar Jar Binks to be, on the Senate, and the way that he gets Jar Jar Binks to proclaim him the ultimate leader of the Senate, wasn't it? And everything. So
but just the fact it shows how smart he is as well. Just the fact that he had this all planned out, and you actually in episode 3 you actually get to see Palpatine fight for the first time with a lightsaber when he fights Mace Windu, and you just see how skilled with a lightsaber is. He knows he's mastered all forms of lightsaber battle, but he actually doesn't even like to use a lightsaber. He can use his Force lightning. He just uses lightsaber to toy, and like I said, at the end he fights Master Yoda, and he's even toying with Yoda because he knows 9 times out of 10 he can beat Yoda. He's just that powerful and evil. So yeah, that's the reason why he's on my list. But like I said, I can talk about Star Wars for ages. But
yeah, well, we're kind of running out of time. So, so my last one is Hans Gruber, played by Alan Rickman. He appears in 1998 film Die Hard, directed by John McTiernan. And we all know, I should think, what the plot of Die Hard, but essentially New York Police Detective John McClane, he's visiting played by Bruce Willis, he's visiting his wife, his estranged wife in Los Angeles. He's attending a Christmas party at the skyscraper where she works, where it's taken over by a group of terrorists. But then they actually turn out to be thieves, posing as terrorists so they can steal $640 million worth in untraceable bearer bonds that are held in the building's vault. And when they take over the building, Willis manages to escape. So the basic story is this guy, all alone trying to fight these terrorists. The leader of which is Hans Gruber. And again, he's quite a comic character in a way. This was, I think, Rickman's first big film role.
Yeah.
Before that, I mean, obviously he was classically trained, did a lot of stage work, etc. And it was that kind of that time in the 80s when every sort of British guy played the villain in films.
Yeah.
But yeah, he plays him quite well. He's ruthless yet calm. He never directly loses his temper. He pretends to be a reasonable guy, even when he kills Mr. Takagi. He's extremely intelligent, but he's boastful. He boasts about his education, his knowledge about business, the magazines that he reads, etc. He's got no remorse about killing people. He pretends like it's a normal, casual, everyday thing to do, but he's also got a very good sense of dark humour. But despite this, he's actually not liked by many people, including his own men as well.
It's almost like a John Lithgow thing. He's above them, isn't he?
He's got this air of superiority. But yeah, he's again, I think he's a perfect villain for that film.
Yeah.
And he pitches it, really well, like we say about John Lithgow and Cliffhanger. It's not too over the top, but, like I say, he does provide some of the comedy as well, some of the lines he has. And I think, obviously, he does add a lot to the film.
Yeah.
Doesn't detract from the film. And I'd say that he's probably, I think on most lists of villains.
Definitely top 5.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's basically, this is the role which kick-started Alan Rickman's feature film career, didn't it? Yeah. So, and what a good film to start off with. So, yeah. Well, my final antagonist is HAL 9000, and he's the main antagonist in the 1968 Stanley Kubrick film 2001: A Space Odyssey. He's voiced by Canadian actor Douglas Rain, and now it's a very. I'm not going to go into full detail because 2001: A Space Odyssey there's multiple plots, but this plot is two astronauts played by Keir Dullea and Gary Lockwood. They basically set off and they look for another habitable planet. And how is the onboard computer system that basically runs everything? I just think, like I said, I'm going to keep it short and simple, but how is just written and portrayed brilliantly, and the fact that he comes across as so twisted and so evil, and he's a computer, is just amazing to me. Listen, I know that he has his mission, but he starts to evolve and learn, and he goes even as far to kill one of the crew members. He even attempts to kill Keir Dullea, and just the tone alone is enough to send chills down your spine. Just the way, the way Douglas Rain says the words.
It's very kind of monotone computer voice, but it's sort of a stark warning against computerization and artificial intelligence. What happens if computers, like in Terminator with Skynet, what happens when they become self-aware and they can actually start, they can start learning and thinking for themselves. At what point do then they start to rise up against humans?
I mean, one scene, for example, this is at the point where Hal started to learn, and he started to figure out that Keir Dullea and Gary Lockwood are trying to overthrow him almost. So they think that they're going to outsmart him by going into one of the pods and speaking where he can't hear them. And the film plays out like they have achieved that in outsmarting him, but then it's revealed that Hal can read their lips, and because he can't hear what they're saying, but he reads their lips and he knows what they're saying, and it's just that really gets to the point where he is super smart and he has outsmarted humans, and that is just a scary thing. Like I said, it's a very it's a big phobia for a lot of people, isn't it? And it's a big people are scared that one day computers are going to be able to out.
Well, it's like now we're trying to build computers that can learn and have artificial intelligence. But then what happens when they exceed their programming and start to program themselves?
And that's exactly what HAL does. I mean, even the design of HAL, even though it's simple, it just works. Like it's just one little red light, but it's stable. It almost pierces right through you because it's you. This light is used as what HAL can look through. Yeah, and he's
that's basically his eye, isn't it?
Yeah,
and
his eye.
That's all that is to represent it.
And he's around. He's all around the spaceship.
It's just that voice, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Dave. I can't do that.
It's literally, it does send chills up your spine because at that point you realise that HAL, like I said, is going to do whatever it takes to complete the mission, even if it means killing the crew members. But yeah, like I said, it's just the way how Douglas Rain can do, like with his performance, can make that effect when he's just a voice is just amazing. And yeah, that's the reason why HAL's on my list. So
right, well, I think that about does it.
It's been a long one, hasn't
it? Yeah. Thanks for joining us. Just check out our website, filmgeezers.com, for film reviews and other content. We'll be back again next week. You can check out our Insta, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. Handle is the Film Geezers. So that's all that's left to say to you. Thank you for joining us, and I hope to see you next week.
Thank you very much.
Goodbye.